probably to a certain extent, but that's not the end of it. What they've been trying to hide is the fact that DeWanna Bonner is leaving to go play with her wife. Yeah, you heard that right. She has let other teams know to not pick her up in free agency because she wants to be picked up by the Mercury and she misses her wife. And I think
DeWanna Bonner may have just made one of the most controversial moves in WNBA history. And the reason she walked out on the Indiana Fever, it's not about minutes or her role on the court. It's way more personal, and the entire league is buzzing. Fans and insiders are slamming her decision. And honestly, the criticism might be justified. When personal relationships start to impact professional responsibilities like this, it raises real questions. Should players be allowed to let off-court matters dictate on-court commitments? Or is this crossing a line in professional sports?
Things I have ever seen in any level of professional sports, and it has to be addressed. If you're not familiar, DeWanna Bonner is cut from the Indiana Fever. We have just waived her, and we've brought back Ari McDonald. DeWanna Bonner has not played in the last few Indiana Fever games, and we were all thinking it was because of personal reasons. And all us Indiana Fever fans were thinking it was something big. I even said on a few of my live streams, hey, we shouldn't talk bad about DeWanna until we know what's going on, because it could be something really bad going on at home. Maybe one of her family members have died. You don't want to talk bad about DeWanna Bonner at this point because she's out for personal reasons. It could be any reason. We just hope you come back soon. Well, we learned yesterday that DeWanna Bonner had no intention of coming back to the Indiana Fever. So initially we were wondering, hey, what is the reason? And the media has been feeding us this lie. The main reason why DeWanna Bonner is dipping out is because she wants to be in a starting position, and maybe she's mad about Lexi Holt outperforming her. Maybe she's mad about the fact that she's not getting the position of Natasha Howard on the team, and she's just been benched because she has not been playing well. They've also been saying that the fit is not well because she's a very slow player in a team that likes to play really fast.
All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room, because DeWanna Bonner may have just set a whole new benchmark for what not to do in professional sports. The way she walked away from Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever has everyone talking, and the actual reason behind her exit? It's something that raises serious questions about professionalism in the WNBA. Now, here's what we were told. Bonner left for basketball-related reasons. Maybe she was frustrated with her minutes, or didn't mesh with the team's style of play. Maybe she felt overshadowed by rising players like Lexi Holt. All of those would have been understandable from a veteran's perspective. But that's not the real story. What really happened, and what many outlets aren't saying out loud, is this: Bonner reportedly walked away not because of basketball, but because she wanted to be closer to her girlfriend, Alyssa Thomas, who plays for the Phoenix Mercury. That's right. One of the biggest roster shakeups this season may have happened because she couldn't stand a few months of long distance.
Opponents are dating each other, that is a whole liability in the WNBA. If you play on one team and your spouse plays on another team and you guys are playing against each other, and yeah, you still have to go home together, or maybe if you're on the different sides of the country, then you're not going to be able to go home together, but you're still going to be talking to each other, and then whenever you guys both have off time, you're going to go home together. That's a conflict of interest. You open up the door for sabotage, you open up the door for sharing other teams' playbooks and intentions going forward, you open the door for all type of gossip, all type of things that should not be happening between two opponents. Always going back to the olden days, professional sports has been about competition. You are not friends with your competition. Back in the day, Isaiah Thomas hated Michael Jordan. That was not something that they could go home to and then be buddy. Like, no, they hated each other and they wanted to beat the other player.
Now, before anyone takes this the wrong way, let me be absolutely clear. I couldn't care less about who an athlete dates or what their personal relationships look like. That's not the issue. The real concern is when personal relationships start driving professional decisions. When players are prioritizing their love lives over their team obligations, it raises serious questions about the integrity of the sport. Just think about it. If athletes from different teams are in relationships and going home together after games, possibly discussing team strategies, locker room dynamics, or even playbooks, how is that not a conflict of interest? It directly challenges the competitive fairness of the league. In any other professional setting, that would be considered a massive breach of trust.
But they want to be on the same team because they love each other, and so you got this whole different dynamic going on, and it's unprofessional. This is not something that should be allowed in the WNBA, especially at the highest level of sports. Imagine Steph Curry and LeBron James dating each other. So if you meet each other in the final, say, you may or may not want to give your all against that player because that's someone you love. You might not really want to crush that other player, but that's the instinct that you should have when you're playing sports, you have that killer instinct against all your opponents. But if your opponent is your spouse, you can't really have that. So you really kind of lose some of that competition, and you lose what sports is all about if you're loving on your teammates. Now, if two brothers are in the NBA, right, that's a different type of love, because brothers always want to compete. Brothers always want to duke it out. It's not the same as having a spouse. That's weird in my opinion, especially if they're opponents. Now, if they're on the same team.
Now imagine if this kind of thing happened in another major sport. Picture Steph Curry demanding a trade just so he can team up with LeBron James. Not because it's a great basketball fit, but because they're close friends and miss spending time together. The sports world would explode. Fans and analysts would call it out instantly because it undermines competitive integrity. Yet somehow, in the WNBA, we're expected to accept this kind of behavior as normal. That's where it gets frustrating. What makes this even worse is how Borna chose to handle the entire situation. She didn't go through the proper channels. No trade requests, no honest discussion with the team. Instead, she reportedly sat out and claimed personal reasons, while the team was left in limbo, unsure how to move forward. It wasn't just unprofessional. It left her teammates and coaches hanging.
DeWanna Bonner. And here is DB's statement. She said, "I want to sincerely thank the Indiana Fever for the opportunity to be part of the Fever franchise. Despite our shared goals and excitement heading into the season, I felt the fit did not work out, and I appreciate the organization's willingness to grant my request to move on, particularly at this point in my career. I wish the Fever great success as they continue to build around this dynamic group of young players."
The entire Indiana Fever organization and their fans were genuinely concerned. Many assumed something serious had happened, maybe a family emergency, a personal health issue, or something else deserving compassion. But as it turns out, the real reason was far less urgent. She simply missed a girlfriend and wanted to be closer to her.
I learned yesterday that DeWanna Bonner had no intention of coming back to the Indiana Fever. So initially we were wondering, hey, what is the reason? And the media has been feeding us this lie. The main reason why DeWanna Bonner is dipping out is because she wants to be in a starting position.
Let's break down the financial fallout of this decision, because it's not just personal, it's costly. The Indiana Fever invested serious money into DeWanna Bonner, expecting her to provide veteran leadership and championship experience to guide Caitlin Clark and a rising young roster. That wasn't charity, it was a calculated investment in winning. But instead of fulfilling that role, Bonner suited up for just 14 games, then checked out emotionally and professionally. Why? Not because of injury or mistreatment, but reportedly because she didn't want to be away from her partner. By refusing to play and essentially forcing her way out, she left the organization with sunk costs and zero return on investment. That money could have gone to players who genuinely wanted to build something in Indiana, athletes ready to grind, grow, and support the team. Instead, it was spent on someone who took the paycheck, took the spotlight, and walked out when things didn't feel convenient. That's not just unprofessional. Some would argue it borders on betrayal.
That makes DeWanna Bonner look really, really bad. It makes DB look really, really bad. And it's the fact that she has told all other teams, other than the Mercury, don't sign her.
The consequences of Bonner's decision have been felt across the entire Indiana Fever organization and the WNBA at large. When she abruptly removed herself from the lineup, the Fever were forced to scramble for a replacement, ultimately bringing back Ari McDonald on a hardship contract. That's not a strategic move. That's damage control.to make matters worse. The Fever couldn't even attempt to trade. Bonner reportedly made it clear she would only suit up for Phoenix, effectively tanking any leverage Indiana had. No team is going to trade valuable assets for a player who's already told the world she won't show up unless it's for one specific franchise. That's not how professional sports are supposed to work, and here's where it becomes even more concerning. When actions like this go unchecked, it starts to blur the line between pro sports and reality TV. Personal drama starts to outweigh professional responsibility. How can a league maintain credibility when its athletes are making career decisions based on relationship preferences instead of team obligations? What's even more frustrating is the WNBA's silence. Rather than holding Bonner accountable or enforcing consequences, the league has stood by passively, sending the message that it's okay to walk away from a contract and strong-arm your way to a preferred destination. If that's a precedent, what stops any other player from doing the same? This isn't just bad optics, it's bad business. It compromises the league's competitive integrity and sends a wrong message to fans, franchises, and future players alike. The situation also casts a shadow over the league's biggest current star, Caitlin Clark. She's brought an unprecedented viewership, merchandise sales, and media attention. She's the WNBA's momentum, and one of the veterans she was supposed to lean on, someone she reportedly helped recruit to Indiana, just left her hanging mid-season. That isn't mentorship. That's abandonment. Imagine being a rookie, carrying a historic amount of pressure, and seeing one of your supposed leaders walk out because of personal relationship drama. That's not what championship cultures are built on. And let's not forget the timing. This wasn't an off-season move. Borna stepped away in the heart of the season, right when Indiana was trying to develop rhythm and chemistry. Her departure didn't just affect lineups, it fractured trust. A few months of long-distance relationship proved too inconvenient, and she chose to bail rather than communicate like a professional. And the most frustrating part? She had options. If being near her partner in Phoenix was that important, she could have signed with the Mercury during free agency. Or, at the very least, had an honest discussion with Indiana's front office to find a respectful solution. Instead, she chose the most disruptive route possible, and now the damage is done. The bigger issue here is precedent. If players can walk away from contracts mid-season based on personal relationships, how are GMs supposed to build stable rosters? How do you plan long-term when you have to account for someone leaving because their partner plays on another team? From a team ownership perspective, it's a nightmare. You invest millions in a player expecting professionalism and leadership, and then watch them walk away with no consequences. That's unacceptable in any industry, let alone professional sports. And let's be honest about Phoenix's role in all of this. While there may not be official evidence of tampering, the optics suggest they are reaping the rewards of another team's internal chaos, and they didn't have to give up anything to do it. A veteran with championship pedigree, potentially for a discount, without sacrificing any assets? That's not fair competition. That's a system failure.